Broadcasting live on YouTube, Facebook, and X. Here's your host, Andrew Romanella.
Okay? Like, just get the hell out of here. Nobody cares what you think if you're not a Mets fan.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome into another edition of The Rome Show, broadcasting live on YouTube, Twitter, X, Instagram, and Facebook. I'm your host, Andrew Romanella. We got you for the next 30 minutes or so, and we got a fantastic show on docket for the people. Some Major League Baseball signings, some Major League Baseball trades, some Major League Baseball salary cap concerns that we need to get to on this Thursday. We have some offensive and defensive coordinator news in the National Football League. And I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Cool Runnings about the Jamaican bobsled team from the late 1980s, but we have a 2026 version on deck, which we'll have to mention. You want to get in on the action, head to youtube.com/the Romanellas. That's youtube.com/the Romanellas. Hit that subscribe button, people. We love the subscribers on YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter X. The Rome Show 1. That's The Rome Show, then the number 1 on Twitter X and Instagram, and of course the OG, facebook.com/The Rome Show. So many ways to get involved. You can comment on all of those. We'll get them live on Instagram and YouTube. Yesterday, the New York Yankees signed, or I should say re-signed, first baseman Cody Bellinger to a 5-year, $162.5 million contract. Here's the tweet from Jeff Passan yesterday. There are opt-outs after the second and third season in this contract for Cody Bellinger, as well as a $20 million signing bonus and a full no-trade clause during the 2025 season. Cody Bellinger smacked it around to a clip of 272 with 29 home runs and 98 RBIs. Bellinger has been in the league for 9 years, with half, if not more than half of his career being spent with the Los Angeles Dodgers, where he spent 6 seasons, 2 of which he was named an All-Star. After spending 6 years with the Dodgers, he spent 2 with the Chicago Cubs, where he had 2 really good years, and then another really good year with the Yankees last season. Bellinger, the highlighted color on your screen, by the way, is his career averages. Bellinger has been a consistent play over 130 games guy for most of his career. In his 9 Major League Baseball seasons, 7 times Cody Bellinger has suited up for 130 games or more, and 4 times he's suited up for 140 more, and once, that was his second year in the league, 2018, Cody Bellinger played all 162 contests. You just don't see that very often when it comes to Major League Baseball. When it comes to a lot of professional sports, you don't see the maximum amount of games played by many of these players. When you have the streak like Mikal Bridges for the New York Knicks, when you have what Eli Manning did in the National Football League, you really start Cal Ripken in Major League Baseball. One, you ask yourself the question, can those Iron Man type streaks truly ever be broken? with the current iteration of professional sports, in the simplest of forms, we are in an era now where organizations are looking for rest for their best players. Organizations are looking to take it slower with what looks to be a franchise caliber star. It is no longer in all lights. It will always be this way. But right now, the protection of the athlete, the making sure the athlete, quote unquote, survives the entirety of the season, that's where we are in professional sports. It is more of an anomaly to hear a basketball player played 82 games, a baseball player played 162 games. Even some football players, a lot of football players, with the amount of injuries that happen in that sport. Resting, protecting, that is the new age of athlete. So it is rare that you're going to have a player, especially in baseball, of all of the sports, 162 games for a position player is a grind. And Cody Bellinger is a solid form of a I can play every day player in the current landscape of professional sports. I think that's a great signing for the New York Yankees. I think as we flip to the next news and note in Major League Baseball, the New York Mets traded for White Sox outfielder Luis Robert Jr. Now, based on the statistics on paper, hitting .223 last season with 85 hits and 53 RBIs, a really good glove. The move for the Metropolitans is not necessarily about the move for the Metropolitans and this guy coming in and hitting .330 and being the best center fielder in the league. The Cody Bellinger signing for the Yankees right now, and the moves, or if you're certain Mets or Yankees fans, though the Mets in the last few days have really started to uptick with the signing of Bo Bichette, the trading of Luis Robert Jr. They traded someone else for another arm last night, Freddie Peralta. So the last few days, the Mets have really been upticking, and the Yankees have trended that way as well. But my point in saying that is, both New York teams demonstrating a little bit of a patience in this offseason that does not make their fans very happy. Okay? Because fans in New York want to see action. There's no, we're the New York Mets. We're the New York Yankees. We're not going to spend money this offseason, at least from the fan standpoint. Steinbrenner, Cashman, Cohen, they all might have a different feeling. There might be they, in their meetings, might be like, we are not about to spend $400 million on our payroll again next year if we're not going to make the postseason. And the Mets front office, led by Stearns, has really put themselves out there this offseason. Starting with getting rid of some named players. Nimmo, McNeil, not re-signing Alonso, though he opted out. Your fault, though. But your choice. And when that's the start of your offseason, especially for the Metropolitans, and the only thing you had to show for it was Devin Williams, I think you're a Mets fan and you're like, well, what are we doing here? And the dreaded word of rebuild, retool, anything scares any fan, especially a fan in New York. Because the Yankees and the Mets are going to spend top $5 in Major League Baseball. And now that you have the Dodgers, who do not care about taxes or penalties or fees, the Dodgers are the sole reason why we're going to have a salary cap in Major League Baseball. We'll get to that in a second. But when you have the Dodgers spending at the spree the Dodgers are spending at, the non-logical fan in New York then believes the Mets and the Yankees should be doing the exact same thing. And based on the history, they're not wrong. That's what both organizations have done. The Yankees more across the length of their history, the Mets more across the length of the last 3 to 5 years of their history. But when you think about rich franchises, when you think about top-level free agents, when you think about top-dollar free agents, the first two teams after the Los Angeles Dodgers that are going to come out of your mouth are the New York Yankees and the New York Mets. So the fan bases believe the money should be being spent. And if you would have gone as a Yankee front office member, Cashman or whoever, everyone in this decision-making process, and you didn't get Cody Bellinger re-signed, you missed out on the Kyle Tucker sweepstakes, though I think that's asinine. Because I don't think the Dodgers need him. Don't think that. Either way, we're not going to that one. And you lose out on whoever else you believe you could have gotten financially, whatever. And even if in the room, the front office didn't necessarily want to go all in on Kyle Tucker or Bo Bichette or any of these other insert free agent this offseason here, you could not go an entire 3 months if you're a Yankees front office member without making a move. One, your team needs it. All right? Like, one, you need it. We need it as a Yankees fan. That's their belief. You need offensive help and you need pitching help. And oh, by the way, your defense wasn't that good last year. So we mentioned all three phases of the ball. As a Yankees fan, you're like, all right, give me a reliever here, maybe a starter here, which happened, maybe a bat or two here. And in the last few weeks, that started to happen. And I think the Cody Bellinger signing, though probably expected by a lot of Yankees fans, I think a great signing. The Metropolitans getting Bo Bichette, a great signing. Not just necessarily for the roster, but for the morale. Okay? For the excitement. For the, can this team actually get past where they were last year? Which for the Yankees for the last 25 years has been always making the playoffs. In one case, making the World Series. But not finding a way to win it. And for the Mets, it is the ultimate roller coaster. Every 5 years, we'll have a team that can get us to the NLCS, maybe even the World Series. And then in the 4 years leading to that fifth year, it's going to suck. It might feel good in some areas, but for the most part, that 4-year gap stinks. It's been that way. And the Mets 2 years ago were a game away from the World Series. The Yankees 2 years ago were in the World Series. Not that long ago. But the front offices needed to start making some moves, and creatively, maybe not loudly, but creatively, you're starting to see that on both sides. We are going to talk salary cap in Major League Baseball because this has been a point of contention as to where we might be going with the new CBA at the end of the 2026 season. We're going to talk about that on the back side of the commercial break. We got some reasonings as to why we may be trending for a baseball lockout, which is not good for the sport, but we'll tell you all about it. Stick with us here on the Rome Show. Plus, some offensive coordinators, some defensive coordinators, and the Jamaican bobsled team. Fire me up. Andrew Romanella. Back after this.
What is one thing every great leader has in common? They challenge their people to not stop at the first right answer. Tighten the Lug Nuts is a leadership book that will teach you how to move past the first right answer with entertaining and detailed examples founded in real-world concepts and experiences. Accelerate towards your professional goals with Tighten the Lug Nuts, one of the best leadership books available.
Welcome back into the Rome Show. Thursday, January 22nd, 2026. I'm Andrew Romanella. With you for another 10 or 15 minutes today on this not as cold Thursday morning, 7:31. State of New Jersey feeling good. State of Boston feeling good. Didn't mention this on the front end. The Red Sox signed left-handed pitcher Ranger Suarez late last night. Suarez, spending most of his career with the Philadelphia Phillies, signs a 5-year, $130 million deal over the course of his career. Suarez has a 53-37 record and has compiled a 3.38 ERA. During the 2025 season, Suarez was 12-8 on the mound in 157.1 innings pitched with a 3.2 ERA. I would say, didn't mean to rhyme that, that is an elite signing for the Red Sox, who, if you were with us on the front side of that break, we were talking Mets and Yankees, a little Dodgers, essentially top 3 spending teams in Major League Baseball, at least perceived, thought as by the fans. The Red Sox can be up there as well, which brings us to the overlying conversation in baseball right now, because last year the commissioner's office did a fantastic job of addressing the concerns from a national television standpoint. Okay, like every other sport, we've abandoned traditional television as we all knew it growing up. Now it's streaming services, and who bought this night's worth of game, and do I have to download this app? Can I get this one for free? Which person in my family has this password? That's sports now. That's television now. Arguably, that's about to be movies now that Netflix just bought Warner Brothers. That is where we're going, no matter which sports you are. But with baseball, 2 things were happening. The regional sports coverage was dying because of the streaming services taking over. And then on top of that, the worldwide leader, i.e. ESPN, i.e. the mothership, i.e. the mecca of sports broadcasting, ESPN starts transitioning to pretty much football. It's football television. Entertainment Football Programming Network. EFPN. That's what they are now. So they get rid of a 35-year national contract with Major League Baseball, which is huge because the average common fan, the marginal fan that's really going to make a difference in a sport, is going to watch those sports on what they have. And if you're a sports fan, but you're not a baseball fan, over the last 40 years, there's a generality that you have ESPN, okay? So if I get Sunday Night Baseball, Wednesday Night Baseball, Monday Night Baseball, whatever the scenario was over the years, there's a chance for me to watch baseball at one point in a given week. And if I really want to watch my home team, I turn on my regional network with my cable package and I watch it there. But that is not where we're moving. That is the old dinosaurian way to watch sports, television in general. So baseball had to make a decision. What are we going to do moving forward? ESPN drops them. Regional sports networks are dying. Well, they sign a fantastic deal that snakes them through NBC, actually a little bit of ESPN, some Apple, Netflix. You get to where everyone else is. Because when I want to watch a National Hockey League game, there's 4 streaming services I can go to. If I want to watch a football game, there's 5 different locations it could be located, including 3 nights a week being different. Like Thursday's different than Sunday's different than Monday. Then even deeper, it's like this playoff game is here, this playoff game is here, and this playoff game is here. I actually have to have 3 different TVs to watch them all at the same time because I can no longer hit the back button to go watch one game and another. When 2 games are on at the same time, unless you're watching the red zone, there's no longer, oh, let me go back to this because it's a different streaming service, at least most of the time. So that's the first thing. The commissioner's office, the top brass of Major League Baseball, make that decision. Start to form that plan. And this is off the heels of all of the major adjustments that came with the clock and the size of the base and the amounts you could pick off. But yet we still sit here feeling as if the sport is in a better place now than it had been 5 or 10 years ago with the potential for a lockout. And a lockout to any sport, detrimental. But for baseball to potentially have their second lockout in 30 years is bad. With the last lockout, by the way, leading to the demise of the Montreal Expos. Though, and I'm not going to get tangential on this, you watch the documentary, it seems like the demise of the Expos was about 10 years in the making. However, the lockout really kicked their teeth in. So what's happening now? Well, we have 1 year until the CBA ends. And the major conversation on the table is the salary cap or lack thereof in Major League Baseball. Right now, the owners, probably minus the Los Angeles Dodgers, who are clearly taking advantage of this because they don't care about paying the luxury tax. The owners want a salary cap. They want a salary floor. They want it from both sides because they believe, I also agree with this, a salary cap at the highest end can keep competitive advantage to a minimum. The Dodgers clearly have an advantage right now. Do they spend more than everyone else? Yes. Are there other teams that make more than they spend and they act like they're poor, but they're really not? Yes. But at the end of the day, the Dodgers can adhere luxury tax and move on, but other organizations may not be able to handle that. So instead of even trying and spending an extra $100 million, they don't, which isn't right either, which is where the floor comes in. So the owners want a capping of the salary on both sides of the fence. You can only have this much on your roster in a given year, but you have to spend this much. Now, we heard the stories from during the season when the commissioner tried to come into certain locker rooms and talk to players and get these conversations out of the way or start to get them out of the way because the process is long. These CBA negotiations have probably started about a year or two in advance of the CBA expiring. And this has probably been on the table for at least the last 2 to 3 discussions. Though it's never matriculated, it has. And that's because the MLBPA has power. The players have power. They're a union. And why would Juan Soto, who's got a $700 million contract, why would he want to see a salary cap? Why would Shohei Ohtani want a salary cap? Who's the next big guy that could get a $400, $500 million contract? Why would they want to see a salary cap? In their mind, you're capping their earnings potential. Okay? They don't care about the team. They don't care about what your profit margin is. They don't care about what everyone else in Major League Baseball spends. They care about how to maximize their dollar figure. So if that's the case and you want to cap a sport that's never been capped, the players are going to freak. Okay? So it only makes sense that the two sides, for what feels like the first time in 30 years, are nowhere near an agreement. Okay? And the things you have to think about leading to this salary cap conversation, okay, is first and foremost, if you don't do this, okay, and you sign another CBA where there is no salary cap, the biggest concern I think that arises is the competitive imbalance. Okay? How can teams like the Chicago White Sox, Kansas City Royals, Miami Marlins, how can those clearly small market teams, and I'll show you their make in about 2 minutes here, so you won't feel as bad for them as they make it seem for themselves. But how? How could those teams absolutely compete? They can't. Again, the Dodgers are in like a $300 million salary cap, luxury tax, whatever range right now. Like, that's a lot. Not every team, franchise, not even close to probably half of them can think about adhering that luxury tax, or let alone want to think about that. Because the facts are the facts here, people. These are businesses. Okay? I want my team to win. Why would you be in the business of professional sports if you don't want to put the most amount of money forward to put the best product on the field to win? Winning only helps you make more money. So for me to see a franchise make $200 million a year and only spend $70 million on their salary cap or their salary, I think that's wrong. Do I think you should spend all $200 million? No, I think that's fiscally irresponsible. But you owe it to that fan base who is spending money in your stadium, on your team, buying your apparel, to spend a certain amount of money to put a competitive enough roster out there that at least if you lose, you can say we tried. But nothing is worse for a fan who spends their hard-earned dollar bills on your team and looks up during the offseason when it's time to make this thing better, and you're sitting there in Cancun, legs up on the beach going, I'm good. I like our profit margin. We'll be the 20th highest spending team in the league, but our profit margins will be top 10. No fan wants to hear that. And also, as an owner, I think you owe it to the city, to the fan base, to spend the money you make on your roster to make them competitive. What's the old adage? You got to make money. Yeah, spend money to make money, right? That has to happen. To finish, I think I want a salary cap. I do. I don't really see how the sport survives moving forward if there's no salary cap. I don't see how the sport survives moving forward with just people adhering luxury tax penalties like the Dodgers are right now. The one conversation, though, that can be had a little bit more is less about the Dodgers spending and more about the spending from the rest of the league. So on your screen right now, we have the spending totals from 2025 in terms of payroll and payroll taxes comparative to the team's 2024 revenue. So as we just discussed, over the last 30 minutes, the Dodgers and the Mets and the Yankees, if you see them down there at number 11, clearly are making the most amount of money in the league. Now, why is the Mets fan angry that they didn't make the postseason? Because they spent 90% of their revenue on payroll. 90%. So the fan can't necessarily be mad at Steve Cohen and the front office because he spent the money. Now, whether you want to be mad at where they spent the money is a whole nother conversation. But when we're talking about franchise putting resources into team on field and winning, the Mets, from a financial standpoint, did everything that they could, as shown on this list. We're not going to go through every team, but what I want you to notice is not the revenue figure. It is the amount spent on the payroll from that revenue. So scroll down to the bottom 10 teams. The St. Louis Cardinals at number 20. There's over $200 million gap between the revenue they made and the amount of money they spent on payroll. The Reds, Nationals, Red Sox even, they all are spending under 50%, in some cases, under 30% of the revenue from the team the year before. That is not a salary cap problem. That is not a Los Angeles Dodgers problem. That is a your owner don't want to spend money problem. Okay? Because if I look at this thing, if the lowest revenue team is $257 million, and that's the Oakland Athletics, lowest revenue team, because they don't have a home. And their stadium sucked when they did have a home. When the Oakland Athletics are 19th in the league in percentage spent of revenue on payroll, that's your problem. That's your problem. Because everyone thinks of the A's as arguably the worst team in the league from a organizational standpoint, from a things that they have standpoint, and from a winning standpoint. Though they have a storied history of winning, that's not how it's thought of in the current iteration of the A's. Now, when they get to Las Vegas, something might change. But if I asked any random group of people that are baseball fans that maybe have never seen this list before, and I say, name 5 teams that spend the least amount of money in Major League Baseball, I would have to imagine people are going to say the Rays, the Marlins, the Oakland Athletics, the Colorado Rockies, and insert random like Pittsburgh Pirates here. Okay? Pirates 27th, Rays 28th, Marlins 30th. But the A's and the Rockies, in terms of percentage of revenue spent on payroll, 18th and 19th. What am I getting at here? As much as we have a problem with no salary cap in Major League Baseball, is as much as we have a problem with some of these dudes just needs to reach into their pockets and realize how much cash they have in there and spend a little bit more money on your roster, because that's what you should be doing. You own a professional sports franchise. We have at least 300 days of conversation on this thing where it's going to turn. You're going to hear from angry players. You're going to hear from supportive players. The last note I have on this is the only thing I see this as helping, it's not the only thing I see helping, but the greatest thing I see it helping is the fans. Because I think the fans are going to feel a sense of, okay, it's not just the Dodgers and everyone else. Okay, all of our teams have a chance here. That's the first place. And the second place is the marginal player, the non-superstar. Like, they have to spend money. Okay, so if you're the marginal player, kind of like what we saw in the NBA a few years ago when they upped the amount of revenue they were making, all of a sudden you had the 8th player on a roster signing a 3-year, $45 million deal. It's like, what? That guy plays 12 minutes a game. Yeah, but it's how much money needs to be spent, is being made in the NBA right now. That's a positive. So outside of the fans winning in this, I think the marginal solid baseball player, the okay baseball player, that player wins with potentially a larger contract. The Rome Show 1 Twitter X and Instagram. Make sure you follow, share with a friend, and give us your thoughts on any sports topic we discuss. Also, stay up to date in all the latest Rome Show news. YouTube.com/the Romanellas. We ask that you hit subscribe. Even if you go on YouTube once every month, do that one time and go to the Romanellas and hit subscribe. Check out the content. We think it is pretty good. Facebook.com/The Rome Show. Some news and some notes in the National Football League. The Vikings, they re-signed defensive coordinator Brian Flores. He was on the docket for some head coaching opportunities. They give him a multi-year deal. I think that's a great move, being that the defense has had to be the strong suit of that team each of the last 2 years when you did not realize what your quarterback was going to give you. First, J.J. McCarthy injury. Then the second J.J. McCarthy injury in Kansas City. We have a same face, same place, new era for the offensive coordinator position. That is Eric Bieniemy coming back for the Kansas City Chiefs. I think he spent 8 seasons in KC, left in 2022 after the 2022 season. I remember Eric Bieniemy was like a hot name on the docket. It was like, oh man, this is the next big head coach. And then you're like, wait, guy doesn't even make the play calls in Kansas City. Maybe he shouldn't be running my organization. But nonetheless, after the worst year for KC in Patrick Mahomes' career, not a bad idea to go back and get somebody that helped, one, make him who he is, but two, some of the best years of his career. Finally, feel the rhythm, feel the rhyme, get on up. It's bobsled time. Cool Runnings. Dude, what a great movie. Disney produced. Hey, Sanka, you dead man? No. About the 88, I believe it was, Jamaican bobsled team. I think the movie was produced in 1993. You can check me on that if you want to. I'm pretty positive, though, that that's the realm of what we're talking about. Nonetheless, the 1988 Jamaican bobsled team eventually adapted into the 1993 movie by Disney, Cool Runnings, was one of the greatest Olympic stories of all time. Truly underdog story. I don't need to describe to you how bobsledding in Jamaica is even a thing, let alone making it to the Olympics. And that's what those guys did in the late 80s. Now, the Jamaicans have qualified again in 2026. We'll have 2-man, 4-man, and another man type of bobsled in the Olympics. We will be Cool Running live during the 2026 Olympics. That fires me up. Cool Runnings was one of those movies. You know, I think movies is a conversation of whether it's dying or not. I think movies and television shows have always been just something that were always fun to quote or go back on or relate to, right? And Cool Runnings, in zero way do I ever relate to that. Okay, outside of maybe the underdog part of the story. But Cool Runnings was always that fun movie growing up where it was like just light and fun to watch. And there wasn't much seriousness to it. At the same time, there was some seriousness to it. And it was also one of those movies where you would say to people like, yo, you ever seen this movie? And like, people would say like, yeah, I have, but like, I don't know why I don't really like think about it that much. But everyone, like, ask, a lot of people have seen it. So it's really cool to see like what I just thought was a movie, something that may never happen again, or maybe it's been happening and I haven't noticed it. That's on me. But nonetheless, Cool Runnings is live at the 2026 Olympics. So outside of Italy next month being interesting and entertaining from the standpoint of it just being the Winter Olympics, you have the storylines of the hockey rink. Will it be ready? Is it the right size? What the hell? The Jumbotron's too small. And now you add into the mix a real live 2026 version of Cool Runnings. Congratulations to the Jamaican bobsled team. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to call it today for the Rome Show here on a Thursday. All right, we have some great news. On Friday, we will be joined by the one and the only. Well, it's not the one and the only because
I can't handle this too Rocky Romanella.
we get two Rocky Romanellas on this show often, but we have the Rocky Romanella that joins this show once a week to talk about Rocky's rundowns and the National Hockey League. So you got to be with us tomorrow on the Friday show when we break it down with Rocky on ice. Plus, we get you ready for the National Football League Conference Championship games. We got the Seahawks and the Rams and the Patriots and the Broncos. You could call it essentially your last true Friday football freaking frenzy. How many more F's can I get in there? Andrew Romanella, have a great day. May I say electric. Peace.
Thank you for listening.